Hello, friends. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. We are back from honoring Juneteenth, so we are back in the studio. And since the beginning of the week, we need to talk to Fletcher Sharp about everything that happened with Detroit City FC over the weekend. Hello, sir.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff to cover from the last game, and then looking forward as well. There seems to be a lot circling the team in maroon and gold.
I'm going to start here. This has been sticking in my craw that this should have been a win for us. Now, look, you can make an argument that El Paso was a strong team, and they were. And you can make the argument that they could have won. They do. But I don't care about Locomotive. I care about Detroit City FC. So we had plenty of chances to score. We did not execute on those. I mean, yes, the match could have gone either way. Yes, one could make the argument that a tie is a good one. But I can't help standing behind that net, watching chance after chance not go in, to be frustrated.
1-1 is like the worst game to have. Even 0-0, you're like, well, neither team deserved to win the game. But 1-1, you focus back on the fact that you broke through, and then the fact that you had other chances to break through. And we looked at the next generation stats, the expected goals, or the XG. Detroit's was like 2.5. El Paso's was like 0.8. And expected goals means, for like the big nerds who will get it and the ones who don't, they take situations and they weigh them differently. And a clear shot on goal is obviously weighted higher than a shot from 40 yards out. Even if the shot goes in, it's still not an expected goal. So like if you were to get beat on a free kick that pings around off 7 people and goes in, it's a low expectancy. Whereas if you take a penalty kick, it'll be high expectancy. So Detroit obviously had a lot more shots in front of the box that didn't go in. To be fair, Newton, the keeper for them, is the USL Championship's career leader in saves. So he definitely showed it, especially on that last save with Francis. I don't know how he saved it. I looked at the replay 4 times, and Francis probably still should have put it in there, but like I watched the ball travel. I don't even know part of Newton it hit. It looked like it hit his head or his hand behind his head, but he somehow got down to make a save. And I even did tell him after the game, like, yeah, great game. Like, you played well. And obviously he knew it, said thank you. They had their chances. I've mentioned the Tuahene shot late. Hoppenot had a nice trap and turn to shoot. He had a nice little curler from outside that hit just off the top of the post that if it had been maybe a few inches shorter, might have hit bar down and gone in. Yeah, they had their chances. I mean, even with the goal that they gave up, I don't know what happened there. I'm looking, and it looked like they assumed a foul was going to be called.
You saw on our TikTok the exasperated Nate Steinwasser, who I feel like he was left up on a clothesline on that one. Like, I just saw him there, and his frustration was palpable. I don't know who he was yelling at or whatever, but it was intense, man.
It looked like they thought that the foul was going to be called because there was a play where someone got kind of fouled and went through, and everyone kind of slowed down. And then defender played the ball to Maxi, who played it back to Steve, who tried to do a little fancy turn where the ball rolls between your legs and you kind of fake out, but did not realize someone was right behind him. So that fault kind of falls on both of them. Maxi probably should not have played him a ball with someone right behind him. Steve probably shouldn't have attempted that turn with someone right behind him. Someone probably should have yelled out, hey, man on, meaning someone's coming towards you, just get it out. But after the turnover, everyone was just kind of like, oh, I guess this does count. And El Paso, credit to them, seized it, ran right at the net, and Eric Calvillo got a nice hard hit top corner that Nate couldn't really do anything with. And yeah, I mean, you make that play right there, Detroit holds on 1-0, most likely.
I wanted to throw, just toss my drink on the ground or something. Like, I was so frustrated because this is the second game in a row where you had an offensive breakaway. It looked like Rouge's defense melted. And I don't know what to think about that. You're smarter at soccer than I am. I'm watching it going, this isn't the team this defensively doesn't feel like the mistakes that I saw earlier in the season.
I mean, to a degree, it kind of echoes what happened when they played San Antonio. They played a pretty good 89 minutes, and then they had like a nice 10-second window where they just said, oh, what are we doing? And San Antonio scored to make it 1-0. They ended up losing 1-0. It felt kind of like that here, where they played a really well game for most of the game. Mm-hmm. El Paso had a few chances later on that, had they made the better choice, probably they might have capitalized on, but they didn't. But they played a really great game, and then they have like maybe 3 instances where they just turned their brains off for a second, and El Paso capitalizes on one of them. And it's what I said earlier throughout most of the year. Against teams like Loudoun and Atlanta 2 and New York 2 and Hartford, you can afford to make these mistakes because they might miss. Against the quality teams, though, you cannot afford to make mistakes like that.
I would say even mid-tier 2 quality, right?
Yeah, I mean, El Paso's going to make the playoffs. They're a quality side. I won't take anything away from him there. But like against teams like that if you give them a chance, they will score one of these 3 chances. And if you give these 3 or 4 chances to a team like Louisville or Tampa Bay or the next opponent, Memphis, they might score all 3 of them. You might be in a hole very quickly if you give up chances like that. So hopefully they do something to kind of batten down the hatches. There was some good news to come out of the game besides the fact that it was on ESPN and the fact that they got a point instead of no points. It was the first game all season, the entire season, including the first game, including preseason, where they had a full bench, a full 18 to take the field, which was encouraging because they're going to need it. It's great to see Brad back on the bench. Obviously, he didn't get back in the game. I'm sure he's still kind of rusty. It was good to see Reese get some time. Obviously, didn't get much. Good to see Billy back on the bench. Obviously, he just got back from international duty, so you want to kind of ease him back into playing with the team. But it's good to see the people on the bench, so if they need these subs, they can have the subs. Whereas before it was, we don't have people here. We got to put one of the young kids in a really bad position to try to like cover up the fact we don't have people there. So it's really good to see that they have actually have a full bench. Hopefully going forward, people start to heal. I know Matty Lewis is getting closer to being ready to play. He's still not there yet. Hopefully we can get him back soon and go back with that powerful 11 they had to start the year.
For sure. Now, something I noticed was that Antoine Hoppenot's role has really changed with the club. Like you mentioned before when he came here that definitely somebody who's more of a setup man. With the club now, he is definitely taking the lead as like a guy who does breakaways, a guy who makes things happen on his own sometimes. Why do you think that is? I mean, I don't hate the evolution, especially considering, you know, you got to work with what you got. But also it kind of tells me, are we also still missing some pieces? Because I feel like, A, I love that Hoppenot stepped up, but B, I think to me it shows that we need another piece or two to go from mid-tier to top tier.
Well, I mean, that's always been his role with Detroit. His role changed when he left Louisville to come here automatically just from the fact that Louisville, this is not a slight against Detroit City, but Louisville has more talent up top than Detroit does. And that's just because they have a fuller roster. They have a longer established team at this level. They have the finances to build their team the way they want to build it. So they have more people up there in the attacking area, midfield or forward. So Hoppenot had to come off the bench. Like, he's not replacing Cameron Lancaster in the middle. Cameron Lancaster is going to be the leading goal scorer in the whole entire league history. Give it 2 or 3 years. So you're not going to bump him onto the bench. That's not going to happen. And the way that Louisville plays, they don't really have wings like that. So unless you want to slot underneath him as an attacking mid, which Hoppenot can do, but he's more effective on the wings up top, he's going to go to the bench. So when he gets to Detroit, we are still building and establishing that attacking force. So he's going to have to play a bit more. And with the way that our team is set up, I hate to keep referencing Louisville.
I mean, people do not like that.
They don't, but they are the model of excellence in the Eastern Conference. If you were talking about the Eastern Conference of the NBA from 2003 to 2010, you talk about the Detroit Pistons because they go to the Eastern Conference Final almost every year. And that's what Louisville is from right now. They've been to the last 7 conference finals in a row. Can't skip over that. Like, I know you might not like the team. Can't skip over that. With the way that they run their team, Cameron Lancaster is more of like a poaching forward. He gets up there, he finds pockets of space, he scores goals. Pato, conversely, is more of a target man up top. And the difference is a target man is someone who, big body, gets up there, gets the ball, and he looks to give it to somebody else. He can score himself occasionally, but he typically needs to be set up, or it needs to be like a chaos situation where he happens to be there and score the ball. All of Pato's goals this year, save for one, have been chaos situation, ball pings around, or the ball bounces somewhere, and it's like, oh, he has it in the box, and then he taps it in.
We should call him the Chaos Duck.
So, I mean, even the goal that he scored against Memphis, like, a cross came in from Reese, it fell, he trapped it nicely, but everyone was still like, oh, he's got it, and then he rocketed it into the top corner.
Hey, he did it. Points for execution, right?
Right. So with Hoppenot, with a team like this, he has to step up more as like less of a guy who's like impact sub, comes in the 60th minute to give you 30 minutes of hard running and whatever, and more of a guy who's like, now I'm going to play 75, 80, 90 minutes sometimes, and I'm going to have to be on the ball more often. I'm going to have to help create a little bit. I might have to even score a few more goals than I typically am accustomed to doing because the team needs it, which is fair. That's a very fair thing, and it's good that he stepped up, because if he had not stepped up, those goals might not be coming from anybody else.
Right. So that points to me, if we want to go top tier, and to me, I know you're talking about quality side. To me, I feel like there's kind of like the basement, the mid tier, and then the top tier. And I feel like this far into the season, we know we're mid tier. We know that. We see flashes of brilliance to top tier, like the Louisville tie, which was great. But I don't think we're consistently there yet, because I feel like we are still missing a key piece. And I think it's glaring.
They need a number 9, a poaching forward. They need someone who's like, hey, go up there and get us 20 goals this year. Just go get us 20 goals. Don't care how. 20 free kick goals, 20 penalty kick goals, 20 headers, 20 goals with your left foot, 20. We don't care however you want to break it down. Just go get us 20 goals and just boom. And as of now, Detroit doesn't have a player on their roster who can do that. Even during their Nisa days, when they were steamrolling people, they did not have a dominant forward who just go up there and say, give me the ball and get out of the way. The best way I can think about it, and they're rare players, but like you have players who can at least do this sometimes. But like the best way I can think about it is basketball, Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, where it's like, all right, even LeBron James now, game's late, give me the ball and get out of the way. The best thing I think of with Kobe is the Lakers used to run the triangle offense, and he had a thing where when he wanted the ball, he had a symbol he'd make with the triangle, and then he'd break it with his hands. He'd pull it apart to say, all right, triangle offense over, give me the ball and get out of the way. And like people joked that, oh, that's his, ISO mode. But also when he got the ball, you knew that he's probably going to put 40 points in you. And that was the end of that. There wasn't any like, whether we win or lose, okay, sure. But he's definitely putting 40 on somebody. It would be nice to have someone who just,
Some would push back and say, at times, is Maxey that person?
No.
Okay.
No, he's not. What I mean by that is someone who says, all right, it's the 65th minute or whatever. I have the ball at the touchline, midfield. I'm going to take this down the field and score. Like maybe I'll play a pass or two to someone and get it back, but I'm going to take this ball, run between 3-4 people, hit a missile from 15, 20 yards out, and celebrate it with the fans. I'm going to do that myself. Detroit doesn't have anyone on the roster right now who could just go and do that.
Do you think anyone could evolve into that role?
No. And it's not their own fault. The way Pato plays, again, target man, I love it. That's how I play. It's basically get the ball to me. I can get it to you or get it to you or get it to you. Or if they sag off me, maybe take a chance and shoot myself. But typically I'm here to get the ball to somebody else before I put it into the net. Maxey, as a center, more defensive midfielder, his role is to be more of a metronome, get the ball, control the pace, get it out to the wings, get it through the middle. And if I'm here for a late run, how he scores a lot of his goals, where they get up there, cross it late, and he happens to just be there waiting, kind of like Rashid used to be with the Pistons to shoot a 3, and then he takes his shot, or he takes the penalty kicks.
This is the thing. What I like is that a lot of players are putting in the effort. I like that Hoppenot's pushing that forward, but I feel like he's like close, and then I kept watching the defense catch up with him.
Yeah, if he wasn't as old as he was, I think he probably would have a better chance of doing that. But I think at his current age and current physical state, he is limited in what he can do in that role. And while it's helpful and great to see him get out there and do that, like he's going to need support. What I mean is someone who, in soccer sense, is kind of like Lionel Messi, which I'm not saying go sign someone like Lionel Messi because that's
not in our budget.
That's will never be in the budget. But like someone who's like, all right, I'm going to just take this ball and I'm just going to go score. Like, I'm going to just take this down the field and I'm just going to score. And you're not going to stop me from doing it. And that's just it. I hate to be traumatic for some people, but you used to have that one bully in school who's like, yeah, I'm just going to pick on this kid. And like, there's nothing you can do to stop me from picking on this kid. That you want your bully to come up there and be your 9 or your 10 and say, I'm going to take this ball. I'm going to dribble it between you, get in your box, put it top corner, wheel away to go celebrate with my teammates / the fans. Like, you're not stopping this. It's inevitable. It's like Thanos. It's going to happen. And just get the scoreboard ready.
So without that, you're saying we could beat some of these top tier teams, but it's going to be much more of a coin flip. It's going to be a much harder road. It's much less guaranteed versus we put somebody in there. It's going to be a much more even, if not on our favor side.
When it's late for Detroit, you're like, are they going to get a goal? It's who's going to score, what's going to happen when. When it's Louisville or it's Colorado or it's a team like that, These other teams have someone that's like this one person or these two people. Pittsburgh, it's Dane Kelly or Cicerone. Like, are they going to score for us? With Detroit, it's who is going to score for us? It's kind of like how the bad boys had the thing where it's like, we're going to win these games ugly. We're going to go there. We're going to hold you under 70 points happily. Until the next year or so, they're trying to figure some stuff out. People realize it was Chauncey Billups who's going to take the last shot, typically. If not him, then Richard Hamilton. But it's like, who is going to score this last bucket for them? Who is going to be the one who says, all right, get out of the way, give me some chances to get some shots up? Detroit doesn't have, they have alpha dogs, but they don't have alpha dogs who are going to go grab you a goal or two that game. If someone gets 2 goals or even a hat trick, people are stunned. Other teams, with their one dominant goal scorer, they get a hat trick and it's like, we're excited, but we're not like stunned. This has happened before. We know this guy's capable of this. I'm trying to think back to the last hat trick for Dcfc, and I'm having a very hard time thinking of someone.
And I think that's the difference between NISA and USL, 100%. That you need that.
Yeah, because in NISA, like they were able to just say, you know what, we're going to get, there are mini games where people.
Well, it's the Anaconda you talked about.
Yeah, people forget that like they won games 1-0, 2-0 because Maxey had some penalty kicks. Some games they had a few shots from outside the penalty spot. Some games they had a few goals, 1 or 2. But a lot of the games they had, it's like Maxey got a penalty and scored, or he got 2 penalties and scored. And like then they added another one for insurance. Very different. Like that's a penalty kick is a goal. I'm not taking goal away. It's a very high expected goal, and the little expected goal thing I mentioned earlier. Those happen because situations fall in your favor. You cross a ball in the box, hit someone's hand, you make a move, someone fouls you, and they go down, or someone dives, or something happens, or a ref misses a call or something. You don't scheme for penalties to happen. You run plays in soccer occasionally, but you don't actually run a play to draw a penalty.
And a league up, you're not going to see as many mistakes like that.
Right. Like if they happen, they happen. But like with the defense of NISA, which save for like maybe 1 or 2 teams was like atrocious, they had to foul you because they couldn't stop you otherwise. They had to just hope you'd miss a penalty. And for the most part, Detroit didn't. Yeah, the last person who had a hat trick to my knowledge was Jean-Claude Lawson.
Oh, wow. That is a minute.
That's saying something where there's no one here who, if they got a hat trick, I would not be surprised if they got. I'd be like, oh, Connor Rutz got a hat trick? Wow. Maxey got a hat trick? Wow. Pato got a hat trick? Wow. Hoppenot got a hat trick? Wow. Didn't see that one coming. And like that's.
I mean, I would love to see it happen. Like I would love to see it happen.
Totally. And that's not an indictment on them and the way that they play. It's just that Detroit currently does not have a guy. It's kind of like how Birmingham brought in Juan Agudelo to be the guy to score all these goals and like be the dominant number 9 that they thought he'd be, and he's not being it. So, like, I'm glad they didn't do something like that because that would be even more embarrassing. They don't have a guy who's going to go grab you 15, 20 goals a season by himself, and that's a little worrisome. I mean, they're still doing great despite all that, despite having a short bench.
Over expectations for this season. Like, we're now at the point for me, and it's covering this in a way that is more of like a professional manner, saying, okay, yeah, we are over expectations as far as making sure we make the playoffs. There's been a couple of different sources, whether it was USL Tactics or 538, that has put our playoff chances way up there. But once you get there, man, like when you're a pro team, you want more. And Detroit sports fans, we want and Detroit City FC, we like freaking trophies. And I don't see why we can't have a conversation about how do we get more hardware.
It's kind of hard to root right now just because you are happy the team is doing as well as they're doing. But it's kind of like driving your car and it's like we have 2 gallons of gas left and the light comes on and you're like, all right, how far can we go with this car before it turns off? Like how far can we go before it's like, all right, the car is now off now.
And we could make that signing without getting rid of anybody because we still need more bench.
Yeah, no, it still comes down to finances there.
No, I know.
So if they mysteriously found a bag of money, $6 million and, a duffel bag somewhere, it probably would be good and karmically aligning yourself in the right way to say, hey, we found this money. But honestly, if they were like, yo, let's keep this and sign a few players, I would not have a problem with that at all.
How much would a key player like that cost in the USL Championship? Because I know what they'd be in the MLS.
It depends. I know Juan Agudelo is making like $750,000, 750,000. I know a few other players are making above $400,000.
So you need at least 400.
Right.
Okay.
They'd be the most expensive player to come to the roster next year for sure.
And Detroit City fans need to get used to numbers like this and these kinds of conversations going forward. They just need to, because finances and a winning team are 1-1.
I mean, to put in perspective, when Diego Luna was sold to Real Salt Lake from El Paso, it was $250,000 to El Paso, and that was the biggest deal in USL history for a player to be bought. Only to be shattered literally like a few days later when Kobe Henry left OCSC out in California for France for $750,000.
Yeah, the conundrum of the idea that the USL Championships talent is rising, and that, I see this a lot on Twitter. It's like, well, you don't need to watch MLS, etc. With that talent rising, those costs are going to rise too. Like, it's not going to go to MLS level, but regardless, more money is going to be in the system no matter what you do. So get ready for it.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of different in my opinion, only because both players who were sold were U18, U19 players.
This is part of why we're developing such of that bench and resource, right? Because we're hoping one day that Detroit City sells one of those players.
For the people worried, I know there's still some worried about players in Detroit leaving. Like, some players in Detroit might leave potentially. I doubt it highly, at least the first year. I think everyone's happy to be here. I know everyone's happy to be here. I know some people are frustrated with tying. I know Pato vented some frustrations after the game. He's like, I'm happy to get the point, happy to get the goal, but like, we really felt we should have won that game. But everyone's happy to be here. But if you see someone sold, it's not going to be for the prices you just saw. They should know that it's going to be something a little bit lower, maybe not even sold at all, maybe just they leave on a free transfer. Someone coming in, similar level, might not be that expensive, but if it's someone who's like really important, like if Josh Winder from Louisville, the U18 U.S. international player, was like, I want to go play for Detroit next year, send me there, that's going to be at least $400,000. That's not going to be like, we'll give you a washing machine or something. Like, that's going to be very much, you're going to have to pay out of that, and he's going to be the most expensive player.
Sean Mann will send a washing machine, and Alex Wright will send a fridge.
Yeah, if a few players from San Antonio, PC, they're left backs, like, I want to go play for Detroit, that's going to cost you some money because he means a lot to them, and he commands the paycheck that he's going to get. If players from Memphis are like, I want to go be in Detroit's midfield, it might not be $400,000, but it's going to cost you some money because, again, they have established themselves in the league.
You talked Memphis, you mentioned Casadoo. We need to talk about what's coming up. Memphis 901, Ben Pierman, it's kind of this ghost-like figure for Detroit City FC fans because he was so important with the early years of this club. I could tell from the last match, I thought there would be more love for him there. This is something where he is a rival now and a heck of a person, has a great reputation. But, I think there's some things in our favor. And I also think this is a game that we need to win. I mean, to me, the good news is they're playing FC Tulsa on Wednesday, so they're going to be on short rest. But they're ahead of us. This is a game I feel like we really do need to win for playoff position.
I mean, there was love for him before the game and after the game. Like, very much so. They were like, this is our guy. They did the Hail Caesar chant because, they love him for that. They still do love him. But the 90-odd minutes between those times, no, there wasn't any. And I honestly appreciated that. I was very glad that they were not like, oh, this is our guy. And yeah, I know they're scoring a goal or whatever, but I'm glad that they're like, all right, this is our guy. F that guy. Game's over. We love you. Come over and give us a hug. It shows very much that we legit understand that we'll be seeing some people that we've known in the past to be very much in our hearts. But now we need to crush their hearts with our cleats. And that's okay. Memphis, though, the last time we played them, they were kind of Now they're one of the most exciting teams in the East. And actually, if they beat Tulsa, we'll be at the top of the Eastern Conference. They have many quality players. I mentioned Lawrence Kisadou. They have Aaron Malloy, who is the second-ranked rated player in FOTMOB in the entire USL. They have Jeremy Kelly, who leads the league in assists and is, I think, tied for third in goals and assists with 10 total, 4 goals, 6 assists. They play very, very solid ball. They play the way Ben Pierman likes to play, which is gritty. They get into you. They get the ball up. They increase pressure on you. Kind of the way Detroit plays now, maybe a little bit more offensive-minded, a little bit. But yeah, they get into you. They make sure that you know they're there, and then they get the ball up, and they get into the net. We played them before, different team. Philip Goodrum is playing a lot better. He's, I think, got 8 goals for them now. Basically,
do we have anyone who's got 8 goals?
No.
It just illustrates the previous point, and that's what I want to see. Let's keep going on this because it's going to be at AutoZone Park. It's going to be on Saturday. What are going to be the keys that we need? Because clearly they want that first place spot, Memphis does. Clearly, this is something where with the point system, losing against somebody who you're going to be in a competitive race for at least a home playoff spot, which is something that Hoppenot and Woodward Sports talked about. They want a home playoff spot. This is one of the teams that are going to be in the race for it. What does DCFC need to do to shut Memphis down?
They need to kind of almost every game. The one good thing about this team is, save for a few outliers, the game plan is almost the same for the first 2 points, and that's maintain your defensive composure, which unfortunately they have not done the past few games. But maintain defensive composure where you don't make the mistakes you made this last game. And what I mean by that is, if you feel some sort of pressure, hoof the ball out of there. Kick it down the field, kick it out of bounds. We'd much rather have them have a throw in than them have a fast break at our net, because Nate Steinwash has been playing great this year. He's been one of the bright stars of the league. Mm-hmm. Everyone's taken notice of how well he's played. But goalkeepers, as magical as they can seem, they get beat. Tim Howard set the record for most saves in a World Cup game with, I think, like 15 or so against Belgium. He also gave up a goal because he was tired after making so many saves. So eventually that magic runs out. So let's maybe not use all of Nate's magic, in a game where he'd have to make a bunch of saves, and the next game he gets his doors blown off.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still playing really well.
Oh, he is.
I think at times his defense is failing him.
He is, and honestly, there hasn't been a goal recently that was his fault. The goal from deep out, the keeper sees it coming. You got to get a hand on it. But most of the goals this year that have happened, not his fault. Someone has let someone into the box where he has to make a quick reaction save, where he might make it, he might not make it. Something else happens to where someone crosses the ball into the box and he's watching the ball, tracking it, and then someone's wide open in the back corner to head it in or tap it in, not on the keeper. The ones that are on the keeper are the ones from far away. Again, maintain defensive composure. Don't let mistakes like that happen. If they're going to beat you, let them beat you because they physically just ran by you, or they schemed a play that worked perfectly. But don't let them beat you because literally a defensive player turned off for a second and got beaten because someone stepped in front of them, or a bad errant pass leads to the other team having a breakaway. If they're going to have a breakaway, let them create their own breakaway and let them create their own attacks. Don't spark their attacks for them. Secondly would be, if you're going to play counterattacking ball, which leads from the first, take your chances and be clinical with them, which is hard to do because honestly, that's a little bit more dependent on the defense than it is on you. But if you get a chance in the box, you only get maybe 4 or 5 chances in the box. 2 of those got to go in. 2 of those have to go in. If Hoppenot gets another chance to receive a pass, turn and fire a shot on frame like he did last match, got to go in. That's got to go by the keeper. If Francis gets a chance late to be released on a great pass from Maxi, where he's one-on-one with the keeper like that, he's got to put in one of the corners in the net. Can't be saved. That cannot happen. Because like you said, they're facing a team who they might be probably not chasing near the top for a playoff spot, but definitely chasing, 3, 4, 5, 6 spot. You lose points there, it's bad. If you win points now, whether it's a win or a tie or something, you save yourself the stress of later in the year having to now beat a bunch of teams in a row to maintain playoff relevancy. If you take care of the situation now, later on, you can have a situation where you tie or lose and it's totally fine, versus you losing a game now. Now it's in order to make the playoffs or keep the playoff spot we have to win 5 games in a row, including beating Tampa Bay twice in a row, which makes everything very much hard for your team. You can't rest people because you can't take people out of the starting lineup because now you have to keep your starters in there, the best lineup possible to get all the points possible. And even if you make it to the playoffs after that, your team is broken and tired, then you get blown out, and then it's just all for nothing at that point. So take care of business. Be clinical when you get the chances, and it should fall your way.
All right. Before we let you go, what's your prediction?
Another 1-1. Another 1-1. Memphis is rolling. I think Detroit gives up a goal first again, and I think they tie it up probably middle of the second half. Have a few chances that just don't work out, but that's okay because Memphis is a very quality side. I think 1-1. I think this time, another late Maxi run. A cross in from the wing. He gets a chance late in the box and taps it home.
Specific dreams, Fletcher. Specific dreams.
You got to have them or else, then I guess you're dead or something. I read that on a popsicle stick or something.
Fletcher Sharp, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. It's good to be in the studio.
All right, well, as always, we do this every day on the Daily Detroit podcast. If you want to support what we're doing, patreon.com/Daily Detroit, or as a one-time thing, buymeacoffee.com/Daily Detroit. Until next time, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharp.
Remember to take care of each other and that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.